Hello, it's Alice here for the Doodle Box. This month I'm showing you how to do your own Galaxy Girl drawing using the inks you received in your Doodle Box. For those of you that aren't aware, the Doodle Box is a subscription service where you receive art supplies every month, and in it you should have everything you need to make your own work of art. So full disclosure, I'm not a professional artist, I'm an art supplier, so this is just meant to show you how to make the most of your inks, and it's a really simple piece. So even the least confident amongst you, hopefully you'll feel confident to give this a go. Now in terms of the line work, what I would say is I am going to submit a guide on how to do the picture on the website, but I will also put up a PDF which will be linked in the description of this video just so you can download it directly. What I would say is that printer ink isn't waterproof, so if you then go over the printed piece of paper with the inks or any water, it is just going to smudge and you get that water bloom effect. What you'll need to do is masking tape it to a window, get a sheet of your Canson illustration paper, masking tape that over the top and very carefully trace it over. Now the Canson paper is very thick, so you probably need quite a strong light source. So if you do have a light box or it's particularly sunny, it's going to be best. If not, I'm sure you can do it, don't worry. The black ink is an Indian style ink, actually the coloured inks are as well, which means when it dries it's going to give you this wonderful waterproof layer. Now this is problematic because it means once it's down and you can't correct your mistakes, which for some people is what's intimidating about ink, but it also allows for us to do this absolutely wonderful effect where once that dark black silhouette is dried, we can wet the paper around it and that silhouette's going to hold its shape. And we can play with the coloured inks in order to get this beautiful gradient in the hair. So obviously you start outlining the silhouette, fill it in. I personally put in a couple of layers just to get that density of the black, to get a nice dark pigment. And also I filled it in whilst it was wet, so I kept the surface as wet as I could using the water brush. This is just to make sure that the texture dried is more organic than brush strokes, because brush strokes, I can find them a bit frustrating when you get that line that you didn't intend in the surface, whereas when it's in a wet surface the ink spreads with the water, which means it can end up taking on a more organic state. So for the hair, we wet the hair first, starting from the top of the head and moving to the tips, being very, very careful to wet within the curl lines. I actually didn't quite wet the tips just so I could draw that in as precisely as possible. The reason for this is once it hits water the ink will spread out. So you want to sort of use the water to control where the ink's going to go, keep areas dry that you don't want the ink to appear in. Now I'm doing this with magenta and blue. You can do it with any colour at all, any gradient that you like. We did send out different colours in the boxes, so some of you may have this, some of you may have other colours. You can also do it with the black itself, so you can dilute the black. Maybe using the barrel of the water brush as a pipette like we did to wet the hair. So you can dilute that black down and literally do a gradient wash, which can be really, really effective as well. So play with it, be creative, have fun. So don't worry too much about that. Now what I sort of did was I worked from cold to warm. So I had my blue, which is my cold colour, starting at the head, and the warm at the tips. Place the ink directly into the water using the plastic stem with the Koh-i-Noor ink bottles, I actually found quite useful. It's quite a narrow tight point to use that, and then using the water brush to move that ink around. I love watching the ink bloom on the page, that spreading of the colour, and then obviously you can play with it with your water brush to get the effect and blur and gradient that you want. So it's completely down to you. Now with this, what we wanted was to have two distinct layers. So you've got the background hair and the foreground hair. To do the foreground hair, you need to let the background hair completely dry, just like the silhouette of the woman. It needs to be completely dry before you move on. So really do break this down to stages. Do the silhouette first, let that dry, then do the background hair, let that dry, then do the foreground hair. Reason being, as I say, is just to make use of that waterproof coating when ink dries. So with the foreground, again, we're going to wet the top of the hair and bring it down again. The reason for this is just to cover any tide marks from the blue last time. Again, just to remove the sort of harsh lines and get this as sort of as organic and flowy as possible. So we're going to wet that hair all the way down. And again, just apply the cold blue to the top and the warm magenta to the bottom and blur it out. I wanted the foreground hair to be more vibrant, so I've added more pigment to the front. So that's great, and you can also see it's purple where the two colours mix. With the Kohinoor inks, you can mix them wet, so you can do wet on wet, and that tends to get a softer colour, or to get a more sort of vibrant colour, you can paint down one layer, like the magenta, let it dry, and then paint down the next layer, like the blue, on top, and you'll get a very pinky purple, or reverse it, paint down the blue first, and put the pink on top, and then you'll get a very bluey purple. I quite liked that technique of letting one layer dry, then painting a gloss on the top, and then just to tie the whole piece together, and also just to bring it back to the Regency era profile pictures that this picture's influenced by. We've done this ink background. Way did it again is very slowly, very carefully with the black ink, did an outline, leaving a narrow space of white all the way around. I just judged this by eye, it doesn't have to be too precise though. If you are somebody who enjoys precision in your artwork, feel free to whip out that ruler and get a very exact line. I coloured out dry, which means it was black onto dry paper, which meant the border ended up looking quite streaky. I think if I did it again, I'd probably actually wet the whole area onto the border and then drop the black into it like I did with the girl's silhouette, just to bring that more organic look. So if that's something you want to try, feel free. I'd love to see how that turns out, because I think it looked really, really good. And again, you might want a couple of layers just to really intensify that black. But obviously there's 100 things you can do with this picture. And also, you don't have to use this outline. This technique works on hundreds of outlines. It's really, really simple. And I hope it makes something that you can feel proud of. With the Doodle Box, it's for all levels of skill. And obviously, you don't actually have to subscribe to the Doodle Box to partake in our challenges or to use our tutorials. That's not what I'm after. What it is about building a community and helping people grow. I really love seeing the artwork that you guys can create. So if you can hashtag us with hashtag the Doodle Box in anything that you've done, and I mean anything. I mean, I should say using this technique, but I just love looking at art. I once spent hours on Instagram just going, oh, that's pretty. So I would love to see what you're making. Once everything's dry, you can whip out that white gel pen, just highlight any details you want to highlight. I did think about maybe putting some stars in her hair using the white gel pen, or some constellations. In the end, I decided against it because I was so taken by how beautiful the colours were as they mingled together that I wanted that to be the focus, and I didn't want to draw the eye away from that at all. I really hope that you enjoy playing around with inks. Next month it's going to be a gouache themed box. Any questions, please submit them to the email details shown on screen. I'm here to help. And if you just want to talk art as well, I am more than happy to talk art. If you've got any interesting articles or anything like that, let me know. I love artwork. And other than that, just take care and keep creating.